All right, folks, we're back with another edition of the Red and White Podcast. I'm Evan with my co-host Dustin, and this is the post-podcast bye-week edition. How you feeling, Dustin? Are you rested?
Oh, yeah. Life happens. We need some time off.
Life happens. That's a good way to say it. We took a break last week after the Carolina game. I think we spent enough time beating the dead horse. We didn't want to beat it some more, but given we've had a week or so to recover, how are you feeling right now?
I think the week off did good for us not getting on and just raising holy hell. A little cooled off period, kind of step back, reflect. I guess Carolina's a quality win, and I'll take any of those I can get. It's, the elephant in the room the past 2 months has been, do we make a coaching change? I told y'all it wasn't going to happen, and looking at it now, I guess I'm okay with it. Like, I would have liked to go out and make that splash hire, and saw today that even money's on Les Miles for Houston, so tell me we couldn't have got him. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at, but it is what it is, and we've got Doeren for another year, and it's put up or shut up time. So
yeah, I guess that's where I'm at too. I'm still equally as frustrated because you knew that was going to happen. That's such a NC State thing to do. For those of you that were on the fire, those of us that were on the fire Doeren bandwagon, you 100% knew that we were going to beat Carolina, and that was going to be Debbie's excuse for him to keep his job. Now, I don't think the decision's made off of one game, but it makes it a lot easier for her to keep him if he's 6-6 versus 5-7. If he's 5-7, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be pissed off, and she's not going to have a choice. But like you said, she's wanted to keep him. You expected her to keep him. Beating Carolina, maintaining 6-6, getting that bowl is gonna, it just allows her to justify. Hey, look, we're behind him. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but
it gave her the justification. But when there was nothing done after BC, like there was nothing going to be done.
Yeah, I see that because if you went rattle off the schedule, you could have pretty much predicted at this outcome after that BC game.
Yeah.
There was no upsets. There was no. The Carolina game was kind of a toss-up just because it's a Carolina game. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that the near misses this year aren't near misses next year. So whatever that means, whether we, hopefully we make those kicks, and we're not 6-6, and we're not having this conversation again. And hopefully that means Dave Doeren has learned on the job a little bit and improved some game management, which I think he's been terrible at, and just overall gotten better and kind of developed as a coach. I think there's a bit of, I don't know what the word is. There's a bit of him being handcuffing his assistants, and I think you've kind of seen that pattern. And this is something we talked about the other day on text message when Matt Canada is now in the top 5 or one of the 5 finalists for the Broyles Award, which is the nation's #1 assistant. Now, you were saying that Matt Canada, a lot of people were saying Matt Canada should have been fired, right? He wasn't the reason that we were bad last year or the reason we lost some of those games. And you're saying we're downgraded. My argument was that we don't know what we've gotten because I think Dave Doeren is handcuffing his assistants. I don't think he's letting them coach the way they want to coach. And the reason I say that, and this is without looking at the numbers comparing Canada to Drink, but I imagine they're probably pretty close. But Drink comes in and he starts talking about we're going to run fast, up-tempo. He wants to run it because we have great running backs. And I think Doeren just hamstrung him because it wasn't at all like the offense they talked about. And the same thing happened with Matt Canada when he came in. And the quote was something like, our offense is going to be like Wisconsin and Oregon had a baby. It was some quote like that. I'm like, that's awesome. That's what I want. That's what everybody wants, right? You want that fast pace. You want to be able to run it. You want just, and none of that has come to fruition. And the only common denominator is that Dave Doeren is holding them back. And then Matt Canada goes to Pittsburgh and he puts up 76 points or whatever it was in their last game. You're like, Jesus H. They put up 50 something on Clemson. I mean,
they got the 10th highest scoring offense in the country. They're averaging 42 a game.
Pitt.
Yeah.
Pitt. Let that sink in. That's Pitt. They don't have any offense. And everybody's like, oh, they have James Conner. We have Matt Days. I'd take Matt Days any day of the week in that argument. And so that's what I'm hoping for Dave Doeren. I'm hoping Dave Doeren pulls his hands back and says, all right, guys, let's do this. Like, do it your way. Let's not, he just get out of his own way, basically. What do you think?
I mean, I was pretty openly against the Canada firing. That I'm not all excited because I was right, but I mean, it sucks to see him doing that there. Right. And I guess my thing comparing the two is that I looked at the numbers and they're really similar. They're really close. But Canada got that done with a decimated backfield last year.
Yeah, but I can argue because he had Jacoby.
Well, I mean, Drink had his guy. He's the reason we have Finley. So if
but he's a first year starter.
Yeah, I mean technically not. He started last year.
He started like 3 games last year.
That's the thing though. I equate Finley with Drink because that's his boy. He's the reason he's here.
Which is fine.
I didn't have a big problem with him.
He's not Jacoby. If you're going to argue that we have...
Last year you were saying Jacoby couldn't throw it deep and he wasn't as good as everybody said.
I'm still saying he is, but he's more... he makes the offense dynamic. And I think you saw Jacoby's weaknesses in the NFL in his second start. That he was... he doesn't check down. He looks to one direction and he takes off and runs. In the NFL, you got to be better than that. And I think you saw that in that game, and he got exposed a little bit there. And he'll get better, no doubt about it. But I can't compare him and Finley. If you're going to say, oh, he's got Drink has Matt Days in his backfield, I'm going to say, well, Canada had Jacoby.
Yeah.
So
but the passing
it's a
games
wash,
were
right?
close. The passing games were close.
Okay, I'll say it's pretty close.
I'm upset with the running game.
Yeah.
I was all year.
Yeah.
We have the 1,000-yard rusher. Well, we should have had more.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of equate that to the young line, I guess. Whatever. I don't know. I just had
played pretty good.
There were some, you can say Canada had some what the hell calls, but Drink had a lot of those too.
And see, that's what I'm, again, we don't know what the dynamic is, and that's why I feel like just because the consistency of when that started to happen and the patterns that we saw, it makes me feel like it was Dave Doeren like stepping in saying, no, you got to do this. And a young coach, Dave Doeren, young coach, right? And then the year before last year, so 2014, everybody's in the office. Oh, there's no big plays, right? And then, that was last year. Last year, everybody's like, oh, you don't have any big plays downfield. And we talked about Jacoby and the deep ball, whatever. And then, Doran's like, all right, we got to throw the ball deep this year. And Drink's like, dude, I want to run the ball. And there's a disconnect there, and I think it's evident with both offensive coordinators. And so I think you're right, but I think there's also that's just a symptom of the problem. The problem is Dave Doeren, and that's why I want to get him out of that way, and let those dudes do what they do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be unbitter about the Canada firing. I can't. Maybe Drink will turn out to be just as good, but end of the day, we fired a guy who's on the what is it, the Broyles list or something.
Yeah.
He's on that list now, a year after.
Right.
One of the top 5 assistants in the country, but he wasn't good enough for us.
So you wanted to fire Huxtable, right?
Yes.
You were. And how do you feel about State's defensive improvement this year?
I mean, the line was good, but that secondary I could have thrown on,
They were awful. Yeah.
And that, there's a positional deal there. You got to look at positional coaches, but Buck's got to stop somewhere, and it was kind of the same deal we saw last year. I mean, we knew when the line we have now signed their letters that we were going to have a good line.
Yeah, that's more on. I think the defense and the top 10 rushing defense is more on Ryan Nielsen being excellent, as opposed to a combination of Huxtable.
So schematically, I don't know. We play a lot of cushion. I don't know why it doesn't work. I'd still be good with a DC move.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I'm frustrated with, and going back to the running game, is the I don't know if underuse of, or just not utilizing Naheem Hines the way you should. Even J Sam, I think he's been hit or miss in some games. There wasn't any consistency. Whether that's teams keying on him, I don't know. But if you look at Joe Giglio's yellow bad charts he always puts out, like J Sam's usage is all over the place. And I bet you if you looked at Hines, it'd probably be pretty similar, though. It's tailed upwards at the end of the year. I just think he's a dynamic guy that you got to get the ball to in better situations than running traditional wide receiver routes. Like get him some quick slants or get him in space like West Virginia uses their scat back anytime they have a little running back like that. That's what I've been frustrated with. And I don't know if that's a drink thing or Doeren thing or whatever it is, but I'd like to see something more from him next year.
He's it's tough to say because J Sam's still here, but when you think of what J Sam was last year, that's Hines this year, and what he could be next year. He's the one, just get him the ball and he'll make a play happen.
Oh right, yeah.
And he, like you said, he stepped it up. I mean, he's going to be solid.
Mm-hmm.
So now next year you've got two guys that are playmakers, legit playmakers.
Yeah,
so when are they going to start getting the ball? Is it going to be like, game 5?
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. And you don't have Matt Days next year, and you assume Johnny Fraser's comes and plays and lives up to his hype, but between injuries and supposedly work ethic, there's a question mark there. Now Gillespie I think is really good, but he's not a game breaker. He's more of a bowling ball. So that's where you have to really utilize Hines and J Sam. So there's an opportunity for more touches. It's just a matter, are they going to get it, and how are they going to get it to them? That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all in all, I'd say the season went as expected. I mean, disappointment. That's what we're used to. That's what's normal. So,
it's crazy that the ups and downs of the season, right? If you look back on it, beginning of the year, even our interviews with the people in the parking lot of the first game, bro, everybody's like, 6-6, schedule's tough. Then you realize the schedule's not that tough because a lot of these teams suck, and we're still 6-6.
Yeah.
That's just so frustrating.
I mean, after the Clemson loss, hell, I wanted Bama, but that was that 3-week stretch there is where he lost it and where it all took a massive turn for the worse.
It nearly lost him his job by not being able to get the team motivated.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you have a hangover game, you go to Louisville and get smoked. Okay, I mean, everybody gave him that pass because Louisville can do that. They did to Florida State. But the other games, like, dude, you got to get these guys motivated to play. You got to get them fired up about something.
Yeah.
And there's a degree of, I don't know, like you saw it after the Carolina game, and I'm sure the players like him. I don't know. But there's just something about him that just, you don't feel like he's got your back, right? Like, I want to hear him after that Carolina game. He's like, hey, I love this place, or just be passionate about winning that game, excited. And instead, he's more defensive and kind of off-putting. You're like, you have a chance to win that back and win the fans back, and you kind of come off that approach. And maybe it's just who he is, which is just, I guess,
which is shitty. Yeah.
yeah.
And even after the losses, he's kind of got that Brian Kelly vibe.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
And it's awful.
Yeah. And you see where that's gotten Brian Kelly. He's being forced to look for other jobs. They just, I don't know. It's just off-putting, as opposed to, it's easy when you're 12-0, but a guy like PJ Flick, everybody's like, look at him. He loves he loves his team. He's passionate and he's all over the place. And there's just something like Chuck Amato had it, right? And everybody loved that about him. And then we went Tom O'Brien. Tom O'Brien didn't have it. And now we're, I won't say in the middle. We're still closer to Tom O'Brien's side. And I think we need a little bit more, a little bit more Chuck Amato in somebody, a little bit more flair and a little gravitas, so to speak,
That's a fancy word.
Pulled them all out.
Man.
That's all I got. I don't know. I mean, 6-6 is about as expected. I'd like to see some improvement from the management, the game management, and then the important part, I really think this offseason is keeping the staff together. There's been grumblings. We're not going to get into it and perpetuate rumors, but there needs to be continuity, especially given the hot seat, so to speak, right? And Dave Doeren's got a chance to win his fans back. And I said it before, that South Carolina opener in Charlotte. And leading up to that, he has got to be fired up because he's got to get a chance. That's a chance for him to win over the fan base.
It's not even just that. I mean, you look, okay, we beat Carolina. Bowl game, SEC.
Yep.
South Carolina, SEC. You win both of those, and then you're coming into the season, Carolina, beat both Carolinas, beat Vandy. That's you knock down UNC, you knock down 2 SEC teams.
Yep.
I don't care if they're from the lowly East. It doesn't matter. I mean, then you think about it, though. If he beats Vandy and USC, then he's almost to his ACC win title.
Ugh.
Well, at home. But you know what I mean. I mean, it's bad. But you look at it, and those are 2 winnable games. South Carolina's not going to get that much better. Vanderbilt's shit, too. So, I don't know. He said he's got a shot.
It's important. I think these next 2 games are really important. If he goes out and lays an egg against Vanderbilt, I don't expect that to happen. So let's say we win Vanderbilt. I think we're favored. And then you go to South Carolina. You get the South Carolina game. And that's like, it's the beginning of the season. Everybody's going to be hyped up just because it's football season. And then if you play well and you win that game, you got people back on your side again. And then the schedule sets up for, a very nice start to the year. And that's what he needs. And he needs to do it. I mean, if he loses that game, you're going to see some empty seats in the stadium because the apathy will be reminded of, oh, this is what we dealt with last year. Here we go again, And this is his senior team. Everybody's talking about we only have 3 seniors this year. So, I don't know. That's what I like to see. Vanderbilt bowl game. Are you traveling to Shreveport there?
I was going to go to D.C. if we made the Military Bowl, but it was on the 27th, I believe. Shreveport at 5 o'clock on the 26th is just not doable.
Yeah.
That's a trek. Flying there would be a bitch. Driving would take forever. So, no, negative.
I know. I like going to bowl games. I really enjoy that. And I hope I hope the rumors aren't true that we politic to not face Temple in the DC Bowl and rather have an SEC opponent. Like, I hope that's not true. Temple's a much better team than Vanderbilt. DC is a much better location for state fans. I don't know.
It's easier to explain a loss against an SEC team.
I guess. I hope not Vanderbilt though. Jeez, they're not good. I mean, I know they beat Tennessee and Georgia this year. They beat
Carolina
Western
couldn't
Kentucky.
beat Georgia.
Yeah, that's true. Carolina couldn't beat them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't expect. I expect us to win that game, and that probably means we'll lose it. But I don't think Vanderbilt's that good. I was hoping for DC if we were going to get one of the two, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think there's still some um, coaching turnover to be expected in some places, and I'm curious how that impacts us because we have some good coaches. Nielsen was in the top 10 or top 15 for the Broyles Awards. So I imagine, the rumors are Butch Jones is going to axe a bunch of his staff. I'd be curious to see if he comes after Nielsen, who they've recruited against, and guys like that.
I hope Butch Jones axes himself. But
he's a champion of life, man.
oh my God, that was worth firing him over alone. But he's the first Tennessee coach in like 60 years to lose to Vanderbilt twice.
Oh my God.
And that's in like a 4-year span.
And y'all had Derek Dooley.
Yeah. Like
that's awful.
There's no better summary of my life than Tennessee football this season. Or like my happiness. Like, think about where they were the first, month and a half. Like, they're like, all right, they're going to be playing for a playoff, and they're playing in the Music City Bowl. What a collapse!
And nobody has done. So I think, and this is kind of a weird theory that I've had about Butch Jones. I think it's a similar ascension than Dave Doeren. I think he followed Brian Kelly at Cincinnati, right? And he didn't build that program, kind of maintained it for a short period of time. I think it was Cincinnati. Yeah. And then takes a Tennessee job, right? I think he followed that same path. They kind of follow each other. And I wonder if he's got that same sort of learning on the job thing going on, because he's recruiting like outrageous talent.
Until this season. He lost a lot after the Vanderbilt loss. Like it's starting to show.
Yeah. Up until I guess this year he's had top 10 classes or something like that. So like, nobody's done less with more than Butch Jones, which makes I'm surprised he still has a job, to be honest.
His buyout's huge.
Is it?
Yeah, that, and I mean, he'd be the third coach, and a 10-year. This all goes back. This is all Lane Kiffin's fault. So
your boy
Lane Kiffin is the reason Tennessee is still awful. But anyway, this isn't a Tennessee podcast. I'm going to keep drinking and just pout. So
no, I mean, it's interesting. I think it has a direct impact on us. The worse Tennessee is, the more it helps our recruiting. I mean, it sounds weird, but we recruit against Tennessee a lot. They come to North Carolina and try to take a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they generally do. So
yeah, they do. I forgot what his name was, but the big defensive tackle from down the way in North Carolina, basically down to us in Tennessee, and went to Tennessee. What was that kid's name last year? I'll never think of it.
He's not playing, so
yeah, he's a freshman. But yeah, so it's the same thing with Clemson. People are like, oh, we want Clemson to be good for the ACC. Like, well, the better Clemson is, the more they recruit in our area, successfully. And I don't want that for Tennessee. No offense, buddy.
Yeah, well, don't worry, it's never gonna happen. So
sounds like another fan base I know.
Yeah, it sucks, man. You don't know my life. It's awful.
Oh, dude, you couldn't have picked two worst teams to be a fan of.
Yeah, I had that title back in '98, but I was a kid, so whatever. All right.
Anyway, I guess sort of wrapping up the football season. We'll talk about the bowl game again when it happens. We have the college football playoff. Pretty predictable.
Yeah, Alabama in the field. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I really enjoyed college football more in, the late or the early 2000s when Bama had, Mike Shula and Dennis Franchione as their head coaches in 4 or 5 years there, and they just weren't not very good. And everybody else was good. I liked college football then. Now it's like, all right, Bama's going to win, and everybody else is just kind of playing for second.
Well, just wait till Texas fires Tom Herman and Saban goes to Texas, and then it'll all even out.
Saban to Texas
That's
for the
what we want.
12th
Yeah,
time.
we got to get back on
Yeah.
Saban to Texas. Herman's gonna flop. Saban's bolting. It's all good.
Nobody's risen faster in college football coaching than I can remember than Tom Herman.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an offensive coordinator like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Like, that's unbelievable.
Quicker
Now
the
he's at
rise, the
Texas,
harder the fall, man.
I guess.
That's a big job to take that quick.
Yeah, and you have to have that personality. I think it's why Mac Brown was good there because he wasn't the coach. He was a manager.
Right.
He managed the expectations of the boosters and everybody else. I thought that was interesting. I'm curious how Tom Herman's going to do. He's probably going to do great. And everybody's, oh, look what he's done. And it's going to be with all Charlie Strong's guys. I mean, they got a beast running back, so they already got that going for them. The kid's really good, that Freeman kid.
End of the day, they're still Texas, so
Yeah,
they can win easily in a year's time. But
yes, agreed. Anyway, I think Bama, Washington. I like Washington's secondary, but man, nobody's beating Bama. You see what they just did to Florida? It was embarrassing. I know you got a little joy out of that.
I hate them both, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of Bama and Florida plays go ISIS, But
It's like the Duke Carolina game for me.
the disparity, though, is fun. I can't remember the exact numbers, but going back like 5 years from the SEC championship game, the West against the East, the West is won by like an average of like 27 points in the championship
Jeez.
games.
Wow.
They got a case of the Atlantic and Coastal, but
Speaking of Clemson and Ohio State, what do you think?
Ohio State easy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Think about how many games Clemson should have lost this year.
I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda. They've been there, they've done that.
Urban Meyer hasn't.
That's true. No, I'm just saying, like, Clemson, they won. They weren't supposed to, but they ended up winning those. I'm curious. Clemson just seems to be getting it together right now. My concern would be Deshaun Watson turns the ball over too damn much.
Yeah, that bug hit him.
Last year, maybe?
What?
I don't remember last year or this year. He's just been.
Yeah, I mean, the second half of the season, he's been extremely careless. I don't know. I can't see him winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think the smart money's on Ohio State, but I just feel like Clemson might just find a way to somehow win another one. And we'll have a rematch, Clemson, Alabama.
Alabama by 30.
Yeah, and then Alabama probably smoke them. I'd like to see Ohio State just be something different. I'm not sure I like either one of those fan bases winning, Ohio State or Bama. It'd be pretty brutal. But, all right, that's all the football I got. I'm kind of stretching here. Basketball, same old, lost to Illinois. Didn't look good doing it. Still don't play any defense.
There are a lot more problems than getting Yurt back is going to fix.
That was going to be my question: does the Big Turk solve the problems for Godfrey?
Nah, I can't see it being that big. I mean, we're barely beating Boston University, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem. I think Dennis Smith's still kind of coming into his own.
Right.
And, I mean, he'll just keep getting better and better. But it's hard for him to carry the team, this early into his career. I like saying defense, man.
That's what we've talked about in the past with basketball, where God, was Godfrey going to go 8-8 or whatever it is this year, like he does every other year? He's going to get into the tournament, make a little run. Everybody's going to talk about it, right? But at the way they're playing currently, I struggle to see them making noise in the ACC. And I want an ACC championship. I think you have to get an ACC championship before you go to the next level, before you can say that he's been a success, right?
At least be in the hunt.
Yeah, at least be in the hunt. Top 5?
It might be harder to win the ACC than it is to win it all.
Right.
So at least be there. You know.
But you have two shots, right? You have regular season and you have the tournament, ACC tournament. That's two shots to win an ACC and say, hey, we won something, right? I want to see us in competition for those. Not necessarily winning it, but I want to. For me, progress is him getting into those positions. You mean freaking Herb Sennett got us to the ACC championship like a dozen times in 6 years. He always seemed to do well in that tournament, at least get to the end. And Godfrey, I just want to see some better ACC play. I don't want us to like completely discount the entire season until the tournament comes around. And they're like, oh, there's tournament. We'll get to the Sweet 16 again. Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. And you got to play some defense. If you look at the numbers, it doesn't line up well for us right now. Yeah. I mean, they'll get Maverick back. That'll help. And
well, I mean, yeah, because he's a defensive stud.
Well, it's not going to help our defense, so we're just going to outscore people.
Yeah.
But then you get run out of the gym by Creighton because they're too fast and you can't keep up with them. Like,
yeah, wait till we play Carolina.
That's exactly what I was saying. That's not very promising.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's basketball long season. We'll get into a little bit more in the next week or so when we actually have some games to talk about. But for now, that's all I got. I got to go fight a possum in my crawl space.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's been in there for, I don't know. He's been in there for a while, man. My wife heard me the day, and I set up one of the baby cameras down there. Got some nice pictures of the possum. He's chilling. There's possum turds everywhere.
Oh, man, you should have called me. I would have been over there.
He's still here. I mean,
bare knuckle box of possum. You don't know. You haven't lived until you've wrestled with a possum.
I forgot who I was dealing with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Good luck with the possum.
Thanks.
Get ready to get bit.
I'm not getting there. There's not a chance. I tried to smoke him out with some ammonia. I did my interneting, and they said seal it off with some ammonia in there, and it'll want to bounce. But it's been like 3 days. I think my dad has a possum guy, whatever that means, but that's what he texted me. So
I got a 22. I'm basically a possum guy. But
I was gonna go in there with my BB gun and just go jihad on him and maybe piss him off.
Yeah.
But he's just torn my thing to shreds down there with all the insulation.
I was gonna say he's probably pulling the insulation out, but so you can leave the door open and it just won't come out.
Yeah, I've sealed off all the vents. He broke one of my vents to get in, and so I sealed them all off. And I think I need to put like a radio down there just so there's voices. I'll just put our podcast on loop so get our numbers up.
There you go.
Right, and just maybe he'll annoy the shit out of him enough to get out of here. I don't know, but that's what I've been dealing with. The great possum jihad of 2016.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck.
I appreciate that. All right, that's all I got. The usual. Thanks for listening. Go Pack.
Yeah, go Pack.